After the long drive from Derby, we arrived at Fitzroy crossing with enough time to set up camp and to drive to Geikie Gorge for the late afternoon cruise. The Devonian Reef poster ensured us that there would be a lot to learn here.
Welcome to Geikie Gorge and welcome to the mighty Fitzroy River. So we're going on a little 3-kilometre cruise upriver today, and this is the best way to see the gorge, and you guys are going to get to see it at the best time of the day. So sit back and enjoy the ride, guys. 650k long river. So it starts up ahead of us in the Hahn Ranges. So we're heading upstream at the moment. Ends up flowing into the sea at King Sound near Darby. When the monsoon rains really kick in around here, it's funnels water through here, and we get 12 Olympic swimming pools a second. The little freshwater crocs that live in here. As I said, there's about 200 of them. They do like coming up onto these banks in the afternoons to start soaking up the sun. So what we're passing through is actually an ancient fossil. This whole range that the gorge flows through is an ancient reef system. So it formed a period of time known as the Devonian. That was about 350 million years ago. All the organisms that built up on that reef, they thrived, and eventually during that Devonian period the sea level subsided, exposed that reef, and eventually the river carved its way through and cut a perfect cross section out. So it's a pretty old system that we're passing through here. That limestone is quite porous, so it does allow root systems to penetrate through it. However, there's not a lot of nutrient in those rocks for trees to thrive. So the trees that do grow in the rocks, they don't do as well as the trees that grow in the loamy soils of the Canning Basin and the Fitzroy Plains. Yeah, for them to survive, they do have to get their roots right down to water level. So you'll notice up ahead of us there's a little fig tree just perched just above the water level mark. There's a little fig tree perched halfway up there. As we come adjacent to it, you'll notice how its roots have come all the way through that rock to come down to the water level to get nutrient. And we're just coming aside a little freshwater spring here, so although it hasn't rained up here for about 250 days, the river's still flowing, and it's fed by there's little waterfalls further upstream here, and all these nice little springs that bubble away all year round to keep the water flowing. That's a popular spot for the crocs to lie, so they scramble up and down those ledges. You'll often see claw marks and little indent patches that they've just carved out over the years. And you notice how the erosion's all vertical up there. That's caused by rainfall. So when the rain passes down, it picks up the carbon, turns it slightly acidic, and it's just eating away those rocks as it drips over them. Years ago, as the sea level dropped, the limestones actually formed from compacted living organ mixed with the salt water and then leached into all those cracks and crumbles and filled it up. So it gives you those nice shiny calcium veins through there. So most years the water comes up to around where that white mark is, near the average flood level. We haven't had a lot of rain for the last couple of years, so it hasn't got anywhere near that high the last 2 seasons. Even further downstream of here, you might see sandbars that go across the river and think that the river's not flowing at all, but water is still flowing underneath those sandbars. Notice that the limestone's got a bit of a pinkish colour to it, which is quite unique for limestone. That's believed to have occurred when the reef was first exposed. Because it was a fringing reef, a whole heap of water was trapped inside a massive lagoon. So it became a bit of an inland sea. And that led to a series of algal blooms, and those algal blooms are believed to have bleached the rocks this pinkish colour. And most of the way through the gorge, the water's about 3 to 5 metres deep, but along this western wall, the water can drop down to be 15 to 20 metres in some spots. Now we've got about 30 species of fish that live in the river here, so we got some really interesting fish. We've got the endemic coachwhip stingray, only found up this way. We do get the freshwater sawfish, which is critically endangered. We do get the freshwater barramundi, and there's quite a few of them around too. We get these cool little things called archerfish, and they can spray a jet of water. So they'll actually come right up to the rocks and try and dislodge insects by spraying a jet of water at them. About this time every year, little birds come up here called fairy martins, and just up in the corner up ahead of it, you'll see some little bottle-shaped nests. Now that's quite a distinctive nest of a bird called the fairy martin. They just get a little bit of mud in their mouth and just dab it on bit by bit. Cool little birds. They spend most of their time down on the south coast, but just come up here once a year to breed, and then come up for the perfect weather when it's all chilly down there. So they're smart little birdies. Coming underneath now, you'll notice a whole heap of those fairy martin nests. Those ones have been up there for about 3 years. And the fairy martins have returned already this year and started building new nests, so they don't go back to the old ones. The way the rivers carved the cross-section through the ancient reef, there's amazing fossils all through here, guys, so it's a pretty important place to come and study what was happening in the world 350 million years ago. Shape. Quite a distinguishable silhouette. And we call that one Richard Nixon Rock. So old Tricky Dicky, he never made it to Mount Rushmore with his presidential buddies, but he got a spot up in Geikie Gorge, which is even better, eh? And up into chasms, so pretty spectacular caving, if you're into that sort of thing. Now that we're going to dig a channel or build a pipeline from here to Perth, so a few engineering challenges there. We're going to motor up to that wall, and I'm going to put the boat on a few different angles so you can all get a good shot of that. Usually if a fire rips through here, it just burns the undergrowth and helps to rejuvenate everything. But now those trees stand a good chance of dying if fire comes through here. It's what almost looks like tracks running through there. There's a bit of a goat track running through there. Well, it's more of a road track. It's a popular spot for those agile rock wallabies to run along. And this time of day there's usually quite a few hopping along there, but they might be all off still grazing somewhere. It's representing the southernmost point of the gorge. Yeah, so this is the end of the gorge here, and so when the water comes spitting out the end of the gorge, it'll rush straight over the top of that sandbar and drop down 12 metres, and the river can spread out to be 20 to 30 kilometres wide up there. So that road that you guys drove in on can be completely underwater for 2 or 3 months of the year. Fitzroy Island itself gets completely cut off from the highways, and sometimes of the year they call it Fitzroy Island.